My name's Garrett Faulkner. You guys have seen me on the channel before, and I wanted to do something new and kind of introduce a podcast to my platform. And I just, it's something that I've been wanting to do for a while. I used to have a podcast called The Rug, and I don't know what this is going to be called, but we want to do something new and fun and exciting. And for my first guest that I have here with me today, I wanted somebody that is close to me, and this is somebody that's very special to me and works with me every single day. And so, I have Amisha here with me. So, Amisha, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Amish Purgerson. Not legally, but one day I'll change my name so my husband stops yelling at me. I am the chief of staff here. Started as director of marketing. Not entirely sure how I got here. If you told me a couple years ago I'd be working in landscaping, I would have laughed at you. But here we are. It's been a ride and a journey, learning every day. Still have so much to learn about this industry, though.
So what we want to do with this podcast, of course, is create YouTube videos around it, as well as one of the companies that I own, Down to Earth, that you work for or work with, is a landscaping company, pool installation company. And the company that you work for, Down to Earth Landscapes, formerly Down to Earth Landscaping. We changed it and added an S since you've started. We wanted to start this podcast basically to do video content with and introduce people behind the scenes, behind the different companies that I work with, and kind of introduce some of the employees and all the people that make the inner workings of my life and other things. I mean, just like, who are you guys? And we're all behind the scenes. So this is kind of something that allows us to put content out there and see behind the scenes of everything that's going on. And so, of course, I wanted to have you on here first. I guess give me a little bit of background about you, like where are you from? Give me all your education.
I'll give you a deep dive into my history.
Yeah, there you go.
Born and raised Harris County. Still there. Well, Columbus, but technically still Harris County. Went to Harris County High School. Went to Columbus State. I was a nursing major. While I was a nursing major, I worked at Stevie B's Pizza, and I became a manager there.
Miss that place.
Me too. Became a manager, and that's when I realized I liked business, so I switched majors. I was not on the 4-year track. I was a super duper senior. Took like 15 years to graduate. Not really, but basically.
But you had a plan to go into nursing, correct? And then you changed. Mm-hmm. So give me a little bit of history on that.
So while working at CB's, I got promoted to a manager, so I got to do payroll and all that stuff, order inventory. And I really liked it, liked the business aspect of it. I was like, okay, I think I should be a business major and not a nursing major. I really only did nursing for my mom, so it's not really something I wanted to do, but I liked the business aspect of working at CB's, so I switched my major. I did half business, half marketing, and never looked back.
The marketing that you did, you've told me a story before that about Vine. So wasn't it Vine? You made a Vine on there that kind of went viral, I guess.
Yeah, we did a couple of one of our coworkers throwing pizza dough in the air and it getting stuck to the ceiling, and everyone loved it.
So for anybody, I guess, that's listening, Vine was pre-TikTok, and it was 7-second video clips, I think was the most you could do. Is that what it was?
Yeah, super short.
Yeah, but they were hilarious. I remember
so
I loved it. And then I heard that Vine was going...
I think Twitter bought them?
Yeah, I don't know. I just heard that they were going out of business or whatever, and I was like, oh, crap. Hopefully somebody steps up. And then, like, Instagram started doing some stuff with Reels or whatever, like Instagram Watch. I don't know exactly what it was called then, but nothing ever really replaced that until TikTok came around as far as I'm concerned. So, yeah, you did some Vine videos. They went viral, and then you realized, like, hey, marketing is pretty cool, like seeing the growth from that and then having the growth opportunities from the Vines that you posted and actually seeing that like transpire into new business and the marketing and everything else for Stevie B's got your interest more involved in the marketing, right?
Yeah, and social media was fairly new back then. I was a senior in high school. Instagram had just come out.
What year did you graduate?
2012.
Okay, just showing your age.
10 years ago. And it's crazy to see how much it's grown because 10 years ago on Instagram, if you got 7 likes, you were like, you made it popular. And now you instantly delete the post if you get 7 likes.
Yeah, if we're not getting like 1,000 views on our reels now, I'm like, get this off of here, Joe. We're deleting it now.
This is trash.
Yeah, so I mean, it is weird how that landscape has changed. So you worked at Stevie B's until you graduated, or no,
No.
you didn't graduate college yet. You worked at Stevie B's, and then tell me what happened with Stevie B's.
I was there for a while, just outgrew it, left, started working at Blue Cross Blue Shield. I always used to think that I wanted to work in corporate America. Like you see it in the movies, they have the big skyscrapers and they have a great job and make a lot of money and they're happy. And that is not the reality of corporate America.
Yeah.
That's a lie that they tell you in school. You don't want it.
Of course. So give me a little bit of background about like Blue Cross. What was your title there? Like, how did all that, like, how did you get a job there and what did all that look like?
I knew some people that worked there. They had a great referral program. Basically, if you didn't know someone that worked there, you weren't getting in. So I got referred. I started in customer care. And within a couple months, I moved into a business analyst position. So just looking at different companies in the state of Georgia for the federal employee program and getting them enrolled and onboarded and sent off to our sales team for the final processing. So I really liked my job. I didn't hate that part. It was management and being micromanaged every day. They kind of put you in a box. They don't want you to grow. So
Yeah, you've told me stories before, like the auditors come in and audit you for your job. Like, why don't the auditors just have your job? If they know what perfection looks like, why don't they just all hire auditors to do the jobs?
Yeah, every month you get audited. They pull 5 pieces of work and they expect you to make like a 99 or above total. And if you don't, you get dinged. And it like affects your bonus at the end of the year. And if you can get promoted.
Yeah.
But it is weird if they have someone that good that knows what they're doing. Why wouldn't you just hire them for the position?
Yeah, and you told me before, did you work in a cubicle or no? Like,
I worked in a cubicle. There were 75 people in my department, and I think I knew 3 of them because it was so strict. They told you when you could go on your 15-minute lunch break, when you could go anywhere.
Was there a lot of turnover there? Did you see a lot of people pass through?
I had 6 different managers in the 4 years I was there.
Yeah. So that's what I was going to ask you. You worked there 4 years total, and then now you work with me. I'm Down to Earth is your next job after that, right?
Yes.
So how did that transpire? You can give me the...
Yes. So I always wanted a marketing job, and I would tell my husband that all the time. And one day he sent me the Facebook post you made on your personal page. He's like, hey, you should apply for this. I went to school with this guy. I was like, okay. And in your post, you didn't like put, hey, send your resume here. So I had to message you on Facebook, and I was terrified. I was like, okay, I'm just going to message him. And you gave me the email address. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So I sent you my resume, and I didn't hear back for like a month. So I kind of forgot about it at that point.
I have a little like OCD, ADD, so like, and I'm impatient, but my original post, what it was for, was of course for a marketing position. And that's what you were originally hired for. And what I wanted was kind of like what Joe does for me now, somebody maybe to follow around me with a camera, but mainly for just Down to Earth. That was before I really wanted to start this channel and everything else. And so what I wanted for Down to Earth was somebody to come in and make Instagram posts, Facebook posts. Me and Brad, our sales manager he still is our sales manager, but me and Brad were the only ones making Instagram posts. And we were struggling with that because we had so much other stuff going on. So we're like, why don't we get somebody who specializes in marketing and that may even have a marketing degree to be able to help us grow our social media platforms? You know, I was always really jealous when I would see like post of, I don't know, like coffee shops and on Instagram, and you're like, oh my God, like these pictures are amazing. And like just marketing this just looks so like, I don't know, sexy is the right word, but it was so appealing to see beautiful stuff on Instagram. And I'm like, man, I really want to sell a product because I really love product photography, like good product photography. I just really appreciate it. And so I'm like, man, and I'm like, I don't know, let me start a business where I can do something with products so I can make some sort of like Instagram post that would be really cool. And then I started seeing like more Instagram posts catch on of landscapers that were just, they were beautiful, like projects that were going on and getting some before and during and after. And I'm like, holy cow, we can actually make our social media very sexy and our website and everything else. And then of course I wanted to do YouTube videos and, you know, testimonials with customers. We interview customers, which we've done now with Joe. We talked about it and we were like, you know, can we afford it? Like me and Brad were just sitting there trying to like, all right, can we like make this a thing? Like how many other landscape companies in Columbus, Georgia have a marketing person for them? Usually they're probably like outsourcing it. They're coming up with a budget of, you know, oh, we can spend $12,000 a year on marketing or whatever and do some print marketing and then like get somebody to make one post a week that, you know, is some sort of outsourced company or
A
whatever.
coupon in the mail.
Yeah. Thanks for that. We did coupons for a long time, but they did very well. So, I mean, I will
They did do
do
well.
that. For us, I mean, I'm always like big into like the next technological like advancements. And so you would think that I would hate any sort of like print marketing because it's probably dead and it's just like a dinosaur, but it actually worked well. And that's why I did it. But yeah, so we were like, man, can we even bring somebody on for marketing? And we started talking about it, and I was really excited when we talked about it, and that's why I made that post. And then we kind of like, I don't know, I just started thinking, I was like, how much is this going to cost? Can we afford this? Is it really necessary? You know, all these things were kind of going through my head. And so I basically had to keep getting Brad to tell me, like, he was like, dude, they can do this and they can do this and they can do this and they can do this. And I'm like, okay, like I made him justify it to me what all that position could do. Because the last thing I want to do is pull somebody away from a job that they already have, that they're doing very well with, or fresh out of college, and then just be like, I don't know, like scratching my head, like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing for the company? And so I didn't want somebody to just come in and I felt like I wasted their time or whatever. So I wanted to be very sure of the decision that we were making to bring somebody on and hire them for that. And so that's why, I don't know if I've told you that, but that's why probably it took you a month to hear back from me. So you reached out to me from a Facebook post.
Yes, and I had no idea what Down to Earth was.
Yeah.
Down to Earth landscaping.
Did you even know what landscaping was at that time?
No. What is grass?
Yeah. And this was last year, right? 2021? Beginning of 21?
I emailed your resume December 2020.
Okay.
Started last year. And I looked at y'all's Facebook page, which was terrifying, and your Instagram. I was like, yeah, they need help.
Yeah.
They should hire me.
Yeah. So we had a few candidates and we talked to a lot of different people. And of course, Brad was like, Amisha's cool. You remember that whole story. I'm not going to get into that. But
That's what he said.
Yeah. He's like, Amisha's cool. Brad had another person he had in mind, but I don't know. I mean, other different reasons of why. But anyway, I contacted you, gave you basically a job offer. You accepted. You had some personal stuff. I don't know if you want to talk about it or not right now or.
They can.
Okay. So
after my 12-hour job interview, this guy contacted me and said, come in for an hour on your lunch break. I was here for like 4 hours.
Yeah. Talk about the interview before we get into the other part. How did that go? How bad did I scare you? Like, give me the first thoughts and initial reaction of your first interview here.
Okay. So you emailed me and I came in for an interview and I was already terrified. And I remember it was during COVID. So I have my mask in my hand and I'm like, okay, I'm going to wear my mask because it's COVID. And then the sign on the door was like, we don't require masks. And I shoved it in my purse immediately.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. And then I followed you upstairs. And the first thing you said, you were like, I'm kind of an introvert. I'm kind of shy. And I don't think I said a single word because you talked for 4 hours straight. And by the time we went back downstairs, Pam's like, oh my God, you're still here.
She thought like the interview was over a few hours ago and
I was already
left.
gone.
Yeah. She like stepped away for a second. She's like, oh, she must have walked in there. And it's like, oh crap, she was still here.
I got the whole history of the company. That was cool. You showed me all the stuff with Compass when you guys rebranded and like.
Oh, we were going through that process. Yeah.
Like this, the initial PowerPoints they had sent you, and then you throwed every business idea you had ever thought of since birth at me.
Yeah.
Like, okay. So I took a lot of notes.
Typically me.
And I left and I was starving and I immediately went to Taco Bell and I sat in the parking lot and I was like, what just happened?
So did you know what like landscaping was at that point? Like, did you know exactly what that meant? Did you think we like cut grass? Is that kind of what you thought? Or I guess you had kind of been on our website and our Instagram, so you kind of knew a little bit about what we did, I guess.
Yeah, I like went through all your posts. I saw that you had sold maintenance and you're doing more of the hardscapes. I saw those posts that you had on Instagram. So I got like a general idea.
Dang, you were creeping hard, huh?
You don't go into a job interview like with zero prior knowledge.
Yeah.
So
did I do any of the red flags? Like, oh, your family when you're here. Like all that stuff that I've been seeing all the TikTok posts. It's like red flag immediately if you're in an interview. If they say that they're like family, run.
No, you didn't do that.
Good.
At all. But no, that was a good interview. And then I heard from you like a month later again.
The most unorthodox interview you've ever been in your life, I'm sure.
It really was. And you're like, okay, I'll talk to you in a couple of days. A month later, he calls me again. And he's like, hey, I want to bring you in for a second interview with Brad. Doesn't tell me who Brad is. And then he goes on a whole spill and then hangs up. And then I'm like, who the hell is Brad? So I think it's like your business partner. Comes out, it's the sales manager. Came in for another interview. I guess it didn't go well. It wasn't bad. It was just a lot. And then I left that and didn't hear from him again for a month. I had no idea who Brad was. Comes to find out it's the sales manager. So I came back in for a second interview with you, and Brad was there. And then that was the end of the interviewing process. And then I heard from you a month later. And I didn't think I was going to hear from you because it was so long. That's dramatic, but it did feel pretty long.
Well, actually, back up when I was contemplating hiring you for the first time, like when you said that the first month that it took, like you sent the resume and it took you a month to hear me from the interview. We were in the middle of rebranding everything. So that's why earlier I said Down Earth Landscaping. Now we're Down Earth Landscapes.
And construction up here. I remember that now.
Oh, yeah. We were like building out some construction. I think we were trying to get the, like, what do we call that room? Our boardroom. I don't know. The meeting room.
Yeah.
We were doing some stuff up there. The walls were hot pink. It was a mess. Plus my office, because we know we needed to add an office in for you. Brad needed a new office, so I needed an office, which I moved upstairs. So we were trying to get all the, I guess, like the nuts and bolts figured out to actually bring you on. But we were going through a huge rebranding with Compass Creative, and where we got the new logo, we got the new website, we got everything. And that was the big thing, is like we were spending, I don't know, $50,000 to $100,000 on a whole rebrand. And so I'm like, I need somebody good to be able to manage this rebrand, make sure that it launches good, all that kind of stuff. So that was another reason why we wanted to bring you in. And one of the bigger reasons is to kind of oversee that project. So we were in the middle of that. And so we just had a bunch going on, and that's probably, I was scared. I was already spending all this money with them, you know, and so, we were just a little bit worried about that. So that's kind of, I guess, the reason for the delay.
He has to defend himself here.
Yeah.
But you did eventually call me. You called me the day after my dad actually passed away. So I don't think I ever told you this, but like that was one of the worst days of my life. And you kind of, it was kind of great that you offered me a job, but you kind of offered me a job that changed my life.
Yeah. It was definitely when I made that call and you're like, yeah, I'll accept. And then you're like, and then you told me that, I was like, oh my God, like it definitely, I was like so worried, and I was worried about you. And so I was constantly checking in with you, but you gave me I don't know, what did you say? You gave me a date that was like a month away. So I'm like, I was getting excited because I was like, she's going to start in 2 weeks, put in her 2 weeks notice. She's excited about it. And it took a little bit longer, but it was worth the wait.
Yeah.
So you started, and once you got started here, give me that culture shock of going from corporate America to small business.
Well, you called and offered me a job, and then you said you were going to email me a formal job offer. So I accepted like a couple days later. But I remember when I emailed my manager at Blue Cross, and I was like, hey, my dad just passed away. How does bereavement work? All she said was, you get 3 days, see you Thursday. And when I spoke to you on the phone, and we didn't really know each other, you were like, I'm at Best Buy, but I can bring you anything you need. I was like, this guy barely knows me, and he's nicer than my boss now.
Yeah,
so it was a very easy yes.
That's not about money, or that you're just another number to them, and that's not what it is at all for us being a small business. Every person here is crucial to the team. So it took you about a month, I think, somewhere in there, to come on to the team.
Mm-hmm.
And what was your first, let's just say like your first day, what was that like?
The first day kind of felt like a job interview again. We're back upstairs. We sat at the conference table. You had gotten further along with Compass than I had seen in the interview, so we went over that. We went to lunch. I got to meet Brian and Brad and Jacqueline. I got to meet everyone. And then you guys were very relaxed. So at Blue Cross, you couldn't leave your cubicle. And I was all over the office here. I got to sit on the couch in the lobby and talk.
What was your, didn't they have like not a performance, but they can see how much like downtime you have? What's the word I'm looking for?
They track everything.
Yeah, what's the production, like a productivity?
Your productivity.
Yeah.
Yeah, they want you at like 120%. Yeah, but like at Blue Cross, you log into your phone, which is on your computer, and you have to put yourself in available. And if you walk away from your desk, it's away, and you're not supposed to have more than 5 minutes of away time a day. So you're constantly at your desk. So that's what I was used to. So coming here when people are never at their desk, I was like, it was kind of like anxious. I was like, I'm going to get in trouble. any
Well,
second now.
That, and two, you were in a cubicle, but then when COVID was going on, were you working from home most of the time? So you went from an environment of working into a cubicle to working from home, which I'm sure was different. A little bit more freedom and relaxation, I guess, maybe somewhat there. I don't know what your discipline is, but
literally roll over in my bed and turn my computer on.
yeah.
I was living the life.
Did you have to like zoom in every once in a while? Like, did they see you?
Yeah, and we didn't
You
used
just
to
like
have
did
to
your
use
makeup
cameras.
and your shirt and just like whatever underneath, you didn't care?
Well, when they sent us home,
Pajama
we didn't
bottoms.
have cameras, so it was still chill. And then they mailed everyone a camera, and it was mandatory that your camera was on.
Oh, man.
Yeah, they're the worst.
So you went from that environment to now like a really relaxed environment, but you're back in the office every day.
Yes.
Big transition back again, or not really that bad?
The only thing that was bad is it happened when gas prices were crazy high. I was like, of course.
Yeah,
now I have to drive to work. But I miss like being around people.
Yeah.
So it was a good shock. I think I'm still in shock. Like everything's so relaxed here. I don't think I'm fully used to it yet.
Yeah. So fast forward, you're into marketing, you're doing our Instagram, you're doing Facebook, you're doing all of our marketing stuff, you're handling the new transition, everything. The ball was passed to you from me basically and Brad of the Compass like projects that we had going on, and you picked up that and kind of ran with the new branding and everything else. So what, I guess, any like challenges from that or any like learning experiences from that? Because I mean, I guess it technically was your first real marketing job, right? I mean, because you were not doing marketing with Blue Cross, even though that's what the degree you were working on at the time was in marketing, but you weren't doing it for them, right?
Mm-mm. So I think one of the hardest things was all the pictures I had, like writing a description, like what is that? What is that stone?
Yeah.
What is that called? What exactly are these guys doing? And I had to go to Brian and be like, is this mortar? Like what the hell is this?
Yeah.
And he'd be like, type this. I'm like, I don't know if I should believe you or not.
So Brian is our operations manager. He's got 20 plus years in the industry. Not all working with Down to Earth, but he came from a company that he was at for a very long time and then got laid off with COVID and then came over to us. So very dedicated, doesn't change jobs very often. He knows the industry very well. And I'm sure this was a culture shock of him coming here from where he was used to. I'm not very traditional in the sense of how I run my business. I'm younger, more of the millennial generation and things like that. And so it's probably run a lot different than the guy that he was working for that was 50 years old plus that's been doing it the same way for the last 20 years. And so Brian knows his stuff, so he is a very good person to lean on when you're looking for that kind of stuff. But also it is Brian too, and Brian can be a character.
Take it
sometimes.
with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
He was instrumental though when I first started, like getting him on video, doing the Instagram reels, like getting him to talk about projects. That really helped us.
When he gave the wrong name of the company and the wrong job title of himself, and yeah, it's funny because he doesn't care. Like he's still like most people would be nervous to get behind a camera or something. He's like, no, I don't care. And even if he screws up, I don't care. Like
does not care at all.
Yeah. And we were working on a huge project at that time, so there's a lot of content that was going on. I mean, we're still really working on that project. We've been working on that project for 3 years.
That thing is pumping out content daily.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah, me and Joe shot a video over there for YouTube for the Down to Earth channel. And Joe's like, dude, I have over an hour of content of just you talking and walking around this place.
Shocker.
Yeah, we're having issues with cameras right now, this being our first time setting this up. We were out there in the middle of the summer. Everything was dying, saying it was overheating. The batteries are dying. My microphones are dying. It was rough. And that's why we really haven't even put that video out there yet.
I was about to say, I have not seen this.
Yeah, it's taken up memory somewhere, but it's a ton of content. And it's going to be a really good video once we get it done. He went out there and shot some great B-roll and some stuff, but it's going to take him a while to get that edited. I mean, I think he's told me before, it's like an hour of editing for every 1 minute of video. So, of course, 60 minutes of video, there's going to be a lot of outtakes and stuff in that, but we can still easily probably compile a 30 to 45-minute video of everything in there. So you got to think that could be a whole week of just him editing that video. If he does an hour a minute, that could be 40 plus hours for him. So it's just something that we need to work on, of course. But yeah, you had content galore going on out there. something that had changed with Down to Earth, of course, was our image. And then also we were getting into pools.
Yeah, you guys were like, we're starting to sell pools like right this second, and we want 20 by the end of the year. What can you do for us? I was like, whew,
Ambitious.
okay.
Yeah, that was mine and Brad's goal when we set up going to river pools was we wanted to do 20 in the next year. And it was funny because Aaron with River Pools, who's kind of over their operations, was like, you guys are going to leave from here and you're going to be like, oh, we want to sell 100 pools, but it's not going to happen. You're going to sell like a few next year. And we're like, no, we got this. And
Aaron
then,
was right.
yeah, we sold a few. It was a learning curve as far as the sales process goes, the installation process. And then there was a lot of backlog of once we sold the product of when it's going to come in. You know, we're doing fiberglass pool shells that had to be manufactured in a facility in Virginia or Indiana. And so that takes time to come in.
And we're in a huge liner market. People want that. They know that. And they have huge competitors here that are fighting us on that.
Yeah. I mean, the liner pool guys are pumping out 300 pools a year, you know, and we're trying to sell, you know, we were ambitious at saying we wanted to do 20, 30, whatever, and we're still not even there yet. But we have grown a lot. The pools ended up being a little bit more costly than we thought. So we're back. We had a technical issue with one of our cameras dying, and we're trying to figure this out since it's our first podcast doing this. But I want to get right back into it with my special guest, Amisha. And we were in the middle of talking about pools, so we're going to continue our conversation from here. So we were very ambitious about trying to sell a bunch of pools.
Yeah, you were.
And we realized really quickly that we were over ambitious because a couple different things. One, the fiberglass shell that we wanted to sell as a pool, we didn't want to do liners and we didn't want to do like concrete pools. And getting into the fiberglass market, one, this area that we live in Columbus, Georgia, had a really bad time, I think like in the 90s with quality. So whoever was selling pools at that time was not doing a very good job with their quality. I don't know what the manufacturer was or anything else. And then we had one of the largest pool companies go out of business, I think because of that. And so anyway, this area had been like ruined for fiberglass pools.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And so I don't want to name any names or anything else like that. We can talk about it later. But yeah, so this area, me and Brad knew that like going into it. I had told him that story and I'd heard that before because just from Facebook posts and stuff that I'd seen people asking, hey, you know, you guys install pools or whatever. And like I would just follow some of the threads. And then like somebody would suggest fiberglass pool and they're like, no, did you hear all the issues they were having, blah, blah, blah. And then when we went up to River Pools and actually talked to them, they said that in the 90s, there was a really bad like rap that fiberglass pools got where they were putting them in, they were discoloring them. They were like melting and like having shavings coming off. Yeah. Like where the paint was like peeling up and boiling basically. So they just didn't look good. And then you're having companies that were going bankrupt, so they couldn't come in and fix them and everything else because of all the issues that happened. And so companies like River Pools and some other companies over the last 10, 15 years started developing a better process, and now it's taken off, and they're very good. There are sometimes, of course, the few people that come to us and say, will it float out of the ground? You know, they're so worried about it floating. But the process that we use, there's no way it's going to float. You just have to leave water in it. Like that's the biggest thing is like, that's the only way you're possible. I just watched a TikTok video actually last night of a pool floating and they were intentionally trying to make it float out of the ground with the hurricane that's coming in. They took all the water out and they were talking about they're going to actually, and I don't know if it was fiberglass or not. It was some sort of shell, but it didn't look like it was fiberglass. And it was a TikTok video. The quality wasn't that great. It was raining. So it was really hard to kind of tell what was going on, but you could clearly see the pool popping out of the ground, but it had no water in it. And they were intentionally trying to do it because they wanted to redo their backyard somehow, and they were going to put the pool near the second story. I don't know. It didn't really make a lot of sense to me, but I did see that. So there is a potential for a fiberglass pool to float, but you need to have water in it. And the process that we use it's not going to happen, you know, with a set of drains and stuff around them and everything else. So those were kind of the two negatives that were going against us was people worried about floating, which doesn't happen, and people worried about quality, which has been perfected with technology over the last 2 decades. So we knew we had challenges. And of course, bringing you in was kind of like, hey, we need to really market this because we have an uphill battle in front of us. We're more expensive than a vinyl liner, but we're faster. Usually our process is faster. And there's a lot of I mean, all three different pools, which is going to be your gunite, shotcrete, concrete pools, your vinyl liners, and fiberglass. Those are going to be your three major, players in the pool space, or the three different types of pools. All three of them are going to have different challenges. So I'm not going to say, and we don't sell this way to say fiberglass is the best for everybody, because it's not. We're limited in our size, and we're limited in like our flexibility versus concrete. Also, we're not the cheapest alternative to a pool. So if you want to do a budget friendly, then vinyl liner is probably your option for you. So it's not for everybody, but I will say there are a lot of advantages to using a fiberglass over those other two if cost isn't your main concern and form and function is, the reliability of it is like better, because with your gunite, you have to clean them, you've got to resurface them, you have to do all this other stuff. Chemicals are very expensive. The initial cost for installation is high, and it takes I think it's like, I've seen sometimes where it's taken 3 or 4 months for people to get their pools in.
Yeah.
We're in and out in 5 days for a pool install. 5 days max, pretty much.
Yeah, we're dig, set, fill in 3.
Yeah. So the other 2 days are going to be like your electrical, your rough in on your plumbing, and then of course like your coping and concrete and stuff like that. And then us being a landscaping company, it takes us longer to do, but we're not just dig, set, and fill and pouring concrete. We're doing all your landscaping, we're doing your fencing, we're doing everything for you in-house in one company. So 5 days max for a pool to get installed, but usually it takes us a little bit longer because we are also going to be doing other stuff. But we wanted to bring you in, of course, to be able to market something that had never been seen in this area, which was fiberglass pools and a full turnkey solution, like plan, takeoffs. We do all of the blueprinting. We do everything 100%. I wouldn't say in-house. We do everything 100% on the front end set up, so you know exactly what it's going to look like when we get done. So all your landscape plans, your irrigation, lighting, sound, if we're going to do, outdoor audio for you, everything, it's completely turnkey, and we give a plan on doing that. So that in itself has an extra cost. If you're wanting to spend $20,000-$30,000 and get a vinyl liner pool, then again, we're not the company for you, which that's what this market wanted. And so we're like, hey, can we bring, the Lamborghini of pools into Columbus, Georgia? Or does everybody want to kind of stay stuck on their Kia budget and, you can still get from point A to point B, but we're looking for something a little bit different. And so, yeah, I know you had an uphill battle to begin with. So
you guys are super ambitious, and I had to find something that would help sell it. And I think the turnaround time was that, because in Columbus, it was 2 years if you wanted a liner pool.
Yeah.
Fiberglass, it was like 16 weeks. So we really had to run with that. We could get you swimming this summer. You wouldn't have to wait. And while it is more expensive up front, if you're replacing liners every year, it's going to add up.
And I don't know, I don't want to get into the specifics of what the chemicals cost, but I do know that there's a savings of the chemical cost too, because you don't have all the nooks and crannies like in a vinyl liner, like around stairs and everything, where algae can actually grow and multiply. And so your chemical costs end up being much, much cheaper with a fiberglass pool as well. So I think the cost of ownership, probably over the course of, 4 to 5 years or one liner replacement, you're going to be really close to what you would have been in a fiberglass. It's like going to Sam's and buying in bulk. You buy 40 things of toilet paper. It's expensive on the front end, but you're paying, $1 a roll versus $1.75 and only getting 5 rolls, and you're still going to buy 40 rolls eventually, so I think it's kind of like, it's one of those things that will pay for itself over time for sure.
It definitely makes sense, but it's harder to sell because it's like, here, spend $70,000 now, opposed to like $30,000 for a liner. People aren't seeing it.
Yeah. And on top of that is like our $70,000 again includes all the finish work.
It's turnkey.
So, I can't tell you, and the reason kind of why we wanted to get into it is we were doing a lot of work, not for pool companies, but for homeowners that had hired pool companies in the area, and they put in the pool and then poured their concrete around the outside edges or did their pavers or whatever. Sometimes not even that we would come in and do the pavers around it. So they would just have a hole in the ground. But it was not turnkey. It was the pool, some concrete or whatever was around the rest of it, and the rest of their yard was destroyed. All the irrigation that might have been existing, if it was an existing house and not a new construction, was gone through, completely ripped out of the ground. You'd have PVC pipe flying up in the air, no landscaping, no sod. if they did anything, they would put seed and like hay down, straw down, and maybe some hay mats or something like that. So I would go over these houses, $1 million houses, and their backyard just looks like a wreck. And they're like, we just spent $40,000 on this pool, and now we got to spend another what 40,000 in landscaping to get it up and going. And I'm like, yeah, probably, but you would have only had to spent 30 if we would have planned this out. So that way I knew where the irrigation was and I knew all this stuff. Now we got to go in and diagnose all these things or basically start from scratch on a lot of stuff. And then you're working around septic systems, you're working around all the other stuff that maybe could have been planned better that you didn't have to work around based on if you knew where the pool was, you could have ran sleeving for certain things and stuff like that. And a lot of times they don't realize that they need retaining walls afterwards. You know, they have a slope, they have their pool and they have a slope coming off the back of their pool. And, you know, it starts eroding and they get scared. They're like, oh my God, you know, what's going to happen to my pool? Is it going to fall off the side of this hill? So you need a retaining wall. You know, a retaining wall can cost $20,000, $30,000 like that. So knowing that stuff on the front end, you can start planning. That's the beauty, I think, of why I was so excited about getting into it, and Brad as well, is we knew that we could help save money and then offer a product that's never been offered, which is a complete plan and not just, hey, this is where we want our pool and put it here and do 8 foot of concrete all the way around. It was, we can actually design this thing from the ground up and we can engineer it in a way that can save you money and aesthetically we can make it look better. And so that's the beauty of us being landscapers is like we plan for all this kind of stuff. We plan for water management. We plan for, you know, erosion and all those things. Like that's what we think about. And of course, the other beautiful thing, like, you know, we had always been problem solvers in the landscape industry. So we were always doing like French drains when somebody had issues with water somewhere. You know, they were having erosion issues. We'd go put in a retaining wall. So we were becoming problem solvers, which, you know, you're working with Mother Nature and you're working with environment. You're not going to fix everything 100% of the time. So a French drain may work for a year, but they're going to call us back in a year and say that, you know, one, they haven't maintained it and everything else. And so we end up with all these like problems a lot of the times. And so having a pool was something that we knew that we weren't problem solvers anymore. We could sell fun. And that was really like when we realized that when we went to River and Aaron told us up there at River that, you know, you guys are going to be delivering a pool on day one and the pool's going to be coming in on a trailer and you're going to look and on the back porch, there's going to be, you know, some kids standing on the back porch with goggles already on and in their bathing suit. And like the pool hasn't even come off the truck yet. And they're like, that's when it's going to be fun for you is because you know that kid is super excited for what you're doing. And so for us, it's like, holy cow, we're not problem solvers anymore. We can actually sell fun and have fun with what we're doing and showcase those things. Who wants to showcase a French drain? You know, I mean, retaining walls maybe, but you know, an irrigation system, you don't really like, oh, my grass isn't green. Let's put in the irrigation system and try to green it up for you because you have horrible runoff or whatever. Like, that's not entertaining to post on Instagram, but a beautiful pool with kids having fun, it is something more, you know, it's more.
It's what people want to see.
Yeah, for sure. And so there was a lot of exciting reasons why we wanted to do it, but we knew, again, it was going to be a huge undertaking and needed somebody like you to come in and help us out. So I guess give me like a rundown once you started getting into the marketing of like the pool side, I guess some challenges that you ran into or some fun things, some, you know, all that good stuff. Give me kind of a rundown on everything.
Making all the posting was easy. Selling it on the price point was definitely the hardest thing. But again, having that shorter lead time, getting your shell in, getting in the ground helped. But Columbus is such a liner pool city. It's hard to break through when people are used to that. And a lot of people already signed up to get their liner pool in 2 years. But we broke through that. We sold a couple. We had some really good clients. We had some that weren't, but that's usually how it goes.
Yeah.
But everything you said, try fitting that into an Instagram post.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we do this, this, and this, and this. You have to keep it super short. So being turnkey, saying you don't need to find your own subs, we'll do everything start to finish. That's what really sold it for us.
Yeah.
And the fact that we're making memories for them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's nice, you know, like to watch it from the inception of like you making the post on Instagram and Facebook and everything else that we were doing and trying to explain that. And then people coming to us interested in a pool and excited about it. And they stayed excited throughout the whole process. And you don't get that. Like the other services that we were selling, like that big project we talked about earlier that has all the content, like we sold a beautiful, I mean, it's over a $2 million landscape. Like it's beautiful. There's a ton. We did a dock with a seating area. We have an outdoor kitchen. I mean, there's just so
We did
many.
everything.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much going on with the pergola and the outdoor fireplace. And I mean, there's so many different sitting areas and areas that you can walk through the garden that we did sell fun there. And we sold beauty and art. And, but those are few and far between. I mean, we know the story of how we got that job and who the people are. And you don't find those people every day. And they've been a complete blessing for us because they helped us transform our company completely by picking up other jobs, because that was now in our, in our wheelhouse, that we can do this and we can provide these services and stuff like that. So it completely transformed like the business as we knew it, because we wanted to only really sell like beautification projects and fun at that point. And so getting into the pool side of watching them see the start to finish and staying excited throughout the whole process was like, that was it for me. I was like, man, I'm hooked. That's all I want to do is sell pools for now on.
There's
Like,
something about pools. People love them.
Yeah.
Everyone loves them. And when they're seeing the pool get delivered, you'll see the neighbors out there running down the street asking, what is this? What are you guys doing?
Yeah.
And when you post start to finish on Instagram, people love it.
Yeah.
They always want more behind the scenes. They don't want the final pictures. They want to know every step of the process.
Yeah. And I can say for like landscape projects that we've done in the past, it was very hard sometimes to pick out a difficult client, like if you really wanted to work for this person or not, because they could be great in the beginning and then all of a sudden things can just go sour and you don't know why. With pool clients, I will say the ones that we've had issues with, we knew it in the beginning that we're like, oh, they're a little bit problematic, but we can get over it. And they ended up being a problem the whole time. The ones that loved the process from the beginning and were like ecstatic about it never give us an issue and have never given us an issue. They stay ecstatic about it throughout the whole process and from beginning to end. So it's a really good way for us to like vet our clients. If we're on the phone with somebody and they're, not being very nice or whatever, it's like, there's some red flags. Are we even going to work for these people? Because we really don't need that headache. There's somebody else that's out there that's excited about getting this and that wants it and will not give us any issues. We're not going to give them any issues. So that has been a transition too, which has been cool because you can kind of like know, hey, this is a great client and they're going to be great into the end. Like, at least that's what our track record's been so far.
We've definitely learned.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's been a learning curve for sure on the installation process and stuff. So moving on kind of from the pools, of course you were advertising our landscaping stuff, which is really cool. And then you were using apps like Canva and things like that, which was awesome. Like seeing our store, like seeing what me and Brad were doing, probably maybe as males and not very creative males, and seeing like this nice, like feminine, like beautiful touch to some of our posts really transformed our Instagram. And I loved it. Like I was sitting there, like every time you'd post, I got excited about it. It's the same thing with like Joe. If I see Joe post a reel on there now, it's awesome. And so for people that don't know, Joe is our photographer, videographer in-house, and he now is filming the content for us and making reels and things like that for us, because Hamisha has taken on a new role last year, shortly after coming in as marketing.
3 months.
3 months? You did marketing
I had 3 months of fun.
Sorry.
Are you?
That was, not at all. So we'll get into that, I guess. So in hiring Compass Creative and redoing everything, we knew the company was going to start growing. I mean, we're offering a completely different line item, which is pools. We're trying to go after high-end clientele and doing things that we've always done in the past and trying to do it that same way going forward in the future is probably not going to work. And so we were just running into making sure, mainly being proactive. I don't know if we were being really reactive to anything, but we were mainly being proactive, knowing that we were setting up the future for the company and we didn't want it to be ran the previous way it had been. And so we're like, okay, what do we need to do? So we need to make sure our numbers are right and this looks right and this looks right and we have all the right players on. And for me, I knew that I did not want to be involved in the day-to-day as much anymore. I was already starting another company, actually another few companies, and I'm like, I can't really dedicate all my time to every single thing that's going on. And so I was like, I knew I needed to basically a second in command, a general manager, vice president, chief of staff, whatever that position looked like. I needed that pretty soon. And I knew that I wanted that pretty soon, which was going to take, it was going to be a process in itself, getting that position filled, trained, and everything else. So even if I found the right person, it may be a year to 2 year process before I could really start taking some stuff off of me. So I knew that that was going to be a pretty lengthy process, and I needed to get started on it pretty soon. And so for me, sorry, I've had a hair just chilling on my shoulder here. When I looked over my shoulder, I saw it a second ago. So I knew I needed to start figuring that out. And a lot of different Facebook groups and stuff like that, but other landscapers who I've been in peer groups and stuff with really suggested Jeffrey Scott to us, which I started looking into of who Jeffrey Scott Consulting was and what all that looked like for our company. We had access to like-minded peer groups. We had access to coaching, consulting, all those different things. And so it was something that we were like, hey, this is a very costly thing, but I think it's going to have a major ROI. Can we afford it? And what does that look like for us? Because hopefully he can help us define a second in command or whatever that looks like. And I was thinking that he was going to like help us find somebody. I didn't know if it was going to be internal, external, what that looked like. So we decided to hire Jeffrey Scott. And this was June, May timeframe, something like that.
Yeah.
You started with the company when?
March.
So it was around May. I think we started talking to him, and then he invited us to come down there in June?
Mm-hmm.
So,
end of June.
Yeah, so we went down there. It was like end of June, first part of July, somewhere in there. So we went down there, whole team, which was you, Brian, Jacqueline at the time when she was with us, Brad, and myself.
I wasn't even supposed to be on this trip.
Yeah.
I want to make this very clear.
I asked him last minute, hey, Amisha's our new hire. She's in marketing. Does she even need to come? Like, does a marketing person even need to be there? This is going to be a little bit more strategic. And he kind of asked me some questions about you. And of course, you did your assessment. Had you done your...
Yeah, so before we even went down there, I didn't even know why we were going. I thought he was just a consultant and giving us business ideas. I didn't even know I didn't know you wanted out of the day-to-day. But we had a lot of homework. We had like a business analysis that we had to do. I had to do an analysis on you.
Yeah.
We had to do the personality test, which I failed and had to redo.
I forgot about that.
So it was a lot of homework and filling out all that paperwork. I was like, I'm new here. I don't know anything. So I was just giving my honest opinion. And he said, it's anonymous. It was not.
Oh, yeah. He ended up bringing it up on the screen when we were there. And I was like, oh, God. And he's like, usually I don't do this because everybody gets defensive. And then I was like, well, here goes the defensiveness. Everybody's about to get defensive about everything.
This trip was wild.
Yeah. And so we go down there and we have a 2-day meeting, basically. The first day we got there in the morning and it was an all day. And then the second day I think was supposed to be a half a day, correct? Mm-hmm. And we ended up having dinner with him after the first night and whatnot. But we go down there, and I don't know the best way to tell this story.
It's such a good story.
It's a great story, but I don't know. You want me to give you my perspective first?
Yeah, because we have two completely different ones.
So we're learning. We get down there the first day. We had a wild night the night before, so we weren't feeling very good the first night. None of us had ever been to New Orleans before, and so we had dinner, and it was just we drank a little bit too much wine and whatnot. But anyway, we were fine. We get there, and it's first thing in the morning, and we kind of go through everything. He's asking everybody questions. It's like a roundtable event, and we're going through some different stuff. And he realizes very quickly, of course, that I want a second in command. And so at the end of the first day, we get done. You guys are kind of wrapping up. Everybody's scared to death because he's just like been throwing stuff. Like, he doesn't want to hear our bull crap. He doesn't want to hear like the fluff. He doesn't want vanilla answers, all this. Like, you have to be truthful and you have to be to the point, or he's going to see right through you. And so everybody's kind of been like gone through war that day with Jeffrey. But it's for our own good. You know, a lot of times you don't want to hear the things that you need to hear. And so that's kind of what he was doing, I guess, more than anything. But I'm not trying to scare anybody away that wants to hire his services, because it's actually great. Like, it was a great thing that we went through. But sometimes you have to do tough things, and you have to hear tough things that you don't want to hear about yourself, so that way you can fix them. And he says, Garrett, can I speak with you outside? And wants to walk to the back deck. And I'm like, sure, you know, like, we just got beat up all day today, and then now what's he going to tell me outside? So he takes me outside, and he goes, I know you kind of wanted Brad, and Brad knows this story, so I'm not offending him at all, but he says, I know you wanted Brad to kind of be your second in command, which is what we thought. Brad had been with me the longest. He was around my same age, around my same ambitions and stuff like that. He was running our sales at that point. We thought maybe we could, promote him to a sales manager. And so a lot of what we were doing was basically saying, hey, look at Brad and see if he's our good fit. And so we go out on the back deck and he's like, I know you wanted Brad to be your second in command, but he's not your guy. And I was like, oh my God, what do you mean? How am I going to break this news to him? Like, oh my God, And of course, Jacqueline's kind of competing for that position too. But even though she was living in a different area, her husband's military and had moved to Texas, even though she had worked here full time before that. And she was still working for us full time. It was just a remote job, which wasn't going to be likely because of all that. And so he tells me that. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he goes, I think Amisha's your guy. And I'm like, Amisha? Like,
I'm your guy.
Yeah. Amisha's the second in command, you think? And he goes, I saw her analysis. I saw this. I saw that, like her answers on her surveys and the way she just presented herself in there. Like, Amisha's next level smart. Like, she is very intelligent. I've seen all of her stuff. She's super, super intelligent. And I think she's got enough ambition and drive, and that would be a position for her. And he's like, I know she loves marketing, and I know she's a female coming into a male-dominated space, and she's never done this before. So there's going to be a lot of polishing, and there's going to be a lot of like coaching and things like that. But I think we can work with Amisha on being the second in command. And so I was like, holy cow, this guy sees something in her that I hadn't even been really looking at. Not that I was saying that, not in my mind that you didn't have the potential, but just that I didn't even think you would be interested in something like that at all. And so we leave from there, and it's like a quiet drive back because we've been beat up all day. We get back to the house. We had an Airbnb, so we had this cool, nice, big house. And Brad immediately has homework, so he's going to start working on stuff. Jacqueline has homework. She's going to work on stuff. I don't know where Brian went. Amisha had some stuff she wanted to do, and I'm sure she wanted to catch up on different things. And so I'm like, oh my God, I got to figure out how to break this news to Brad. And then also I've got to ask Amisha if she wants this position at all. And so I'm like sitting there. Brad's in the kitchen. I think you were in the living room, or Brad's kind of in the dining room. You were in the living room. I was in the kitchen. And I was just like, I'm going to go outside, and I'm just going to text her to be like, hey, come out here. So I walk outside, and I just send her a text message. I'm like, hey, can you come outside real quick? I need to talk to you. Well, I presented you with something that you did not know at all. So I guess we'll pause there. We'll hear your side of the story.
My hands are sweating like I'm remembering the PTSD from this trip.
All right, so let's hear your side.
This sounds dramatic. But that trip took years off my life.
I don't disagree.
So we got there the night before. We had a lot of fun. We went to breakfast the next morning. You did not make it to breakfast.
No.
So it was the four of us, and no one said a damn thing. We just ate silently because we felt so sick. But then we get to Jeffrey's, and I didn't realize it was going to be at his house. So like that threw me for a loop. And I don't know what I was expecting when I met him. So when he opened the door, that kind of threw me for a loop. We're just sitting at the table, and he like went in at it. It was like an interrogation. We were fighting for our lives in there. No answer was good enough. He threw a paper towel at Brian at one point.
Yeah. I got pointed at by both Brad and Brian. They were both just like, you. And I was like, who said that? Jeffrey's like, who said that? Who told you that? And they're like, I don't know, somebody at this table. And Jeffrey's like, who? Tell me. And they both just went and pointed at me. I was like, okay, thank you. Nice.
Every answer was a vanilla answer. Everyone was throwing everyone under the bus. It was like...
Yeah, it was...
it was team building at its finest.
Yeah.
But every time he asked a question, you answered it. He'd look at you like it was the worst answer he's ever heard, and you really questioned yourself. And he asked me the last question, and then he looked at you and said, I need to talk to you outside. I was like, great.
What did I do?
I know. And it's always like marketing's the first department to go. So I'm like sinking in my seat.
Yeah, there goes the budget. Like, what is she even doing here? Why do you have a marketing person? You're not ready for that.
Her?
Yeah. Why is she here? Yeah, I get it.
It was rough. So you're outside. I'm texting CJ, my fiance. And I was like, this is it, buddy. Like,
you're going to have to come get me.
We're depending on your income.
Yeah, because we drove. We didn't fly there.
Yeah.
We actually all drove together. So you're
I'm like,
freaking out that you're about to get fired, and it's like that's gonna be an awkward ride.
I'm not riding
back.
home with you guys. I'm
Yeah.
booking a flight, or you're coming to get me. Like, how much is an Uber back to Columbus?
So as I'm outside freaking out, like, oh my God, I got to tell Brad, but also I need to bring this up to her, and I'm sending you a text message.
Okay, so you're outside. We're all freaking out in the house. You come back inside, and you're not smiling. You don't say anything. You just walk out the door. So we follow you. We get in the car. It's the most awkward car ride back to the Airbnb.
What do I mean, that was the thing too, is once he brought me outside, I'm like, they're all going to wonder what he just said outside. And I have nothing to give them, all like without seeming like a jerk, without, so my reaction was, yeah, I have to be quiet. Cause I'm not going to lie to you guys and be like, oh, we just talked about, the state of the company. Like, I don't know. I didn't have anything at all other than saying, hey, Brad's not your guy and Amisha's probably your person. And so I'm like, I can't say that in the car with all you guys. So of course I'm quiet.
But it's funny looking back now, we're all freaking out in the car in our heads. And we're all thinking about different things, like having our own rundown of how it went. But we get back to the house and you text me and you say, come outside. I immediately texted TJ. I was like, I'm done.
This is it.
Come
get me.
Like,
be looking for tickets. I'm going to be texting you in like 30 minutes.
I like screenshotted your text and sent it to him.
That quick? You came out pretty quick. So that was.
I felt like I didn't. I felt like I sat there. I was like, oh, wait, I still have to go outside. Like, it's not
you
over
probably
yet.
had your adrenaline rushing. So you were
walking down the stairs. I was
doing
like,
things fast.
I thought I was going to throw up on you.
Yeah, I can see that.
And I was just waiting for you to be like, you're fired. But basically, you're like, you're getting promoted.
Well, kinda.
And it was terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, it was not what you were expecting at all. So
No.
I'm telling her, I'm like, hey, so the conversation that I had with Jeffrey outside, and Amisha's probably like, her like gut just sank. Everything was just like, oh God, I don't want to hear it. But then I was like, was that Brad's not our guy, and he thinks that you possibly are going to be the second in charge, second command for the company. And is that something you'd be interested in? And so, of course, with all of the emotions, I mean, it was an emotional roller coaster all day. So, of course, you were just kind of like quiet on me. And I was like, oh, God, like, why is she being quiet right now? I need some sort of answer.
It was so much to process. And then you said he liked my analysis. I'm like, what the hell did I even write on that thing? Like,
I told him, I was like, she failed the test, or she failed the thing the first time.
She's dumb. No one failed but her.
No, you actually you were overthinking a question that you shouldn't
Shocker.
have been overthinking. And it was one of the like test, like they had like 5 test questions in there. It was like, what color is blue? And you put blue, like, but one of them was kind of like I don't know. It was you told me what it was and I was like, I could see how you did that. And I actually learned from your mistake because I didn't take the survey at that point. So then when that question came about, I was like, oh, I see how she did this. And so.
And it's not a short test. It takes like 2 hours.
No.
So when I got to the end of it, it said failure. I was like, I got to do this again.
Well, what was funny is when you did take that test before we went, you had started it. And then I figured you were almost done. So like I went by your office and I was like, hey, are you done with that yet? And you're like, no. And I was like, dang, you told me you were almost done like an hour ago. And then you did, and then like the next day,
I wasn't going to tell you.
Yeah, you didn't tell me. And I was like, why did it take you so long? You're like, well, I actually had to take it twice. And I was like, oh, which actually the lady that performs those tests and sold me on those said that it's good if they don't tell you that they have to take it twice because, well, a couple different reasons, but a lot of times people get aggravated and then like it shows their character of being like, I already took it one time, blah, 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 blah. So somebody that just kind of like does it again and doesn't say anything, it's like, that's a really good person because they're not a complainer and they're not going to be like a negative Nancy kind of person. It's like, oh, I made a mistake and I'm going to own up to it and do it again. So had I not said anything to you, you would have never told us, like, which is a good character thing. So I actually told him that there and he was like, yeah, that's actually good, so. So yeah, you like sat there in silence when I asked you that, and I was like, oh crap, well, maybe she doesn't want to do it. But then you said, yeah, I would consider it. And I know that going into it, that it is a lot. Like he said, it's a thankless position. The pay is probably not going to be what you wanted. And that was one of our arguments that we had for Brad that he kept bringing up in that meeting. He wanted to know what the pay was. And Jeffrey's like, I can't even tell you what the pay is going to be. If you're basically taking on an ownership role. Owners don't make money a lot of the time. Sometimes they make really good money. Sometimes they don't make any money at all. And like you're sharing some of that burden and responsibility a little bit. So there may be opportunities for bonus, but there's no guaranteed pay structure here, other than a salary. But like sometimes your bonuses can even be more than a salary in this type of position. Like your salary is just like whatever your safety net is, but sometimes you can even make more in bonuses and like double or triple that. So, and then sometimes you don't get a bonus at all. We have a bad year, like there might even be anything there. So I know that you're processing that and probably been like, I've never been in this industry. I've been in here for 3 months. I've never been in that position. I've never been like, I don't know. So I can see, but you did give me a clear kind of like, I'll think about it. And yeah, I think I could do that. Which of course I was like, heck yeah. Like I think you kind of came back to me.
It was just a lot to process because
Yeah.
5 seconds before I was like, I'm getting fired.
Well, you just had a hellacious day.
Yeah.
5 seconds before you think you're getting fired. And then I ask you that, which is completely the opposite of everything. So again, just an emotional roller coaster. But glad to say you accepted the position.
Yes.
We've been coaching with Jeffrey now for over a year and a half, somewhere in there. So he's been dealing directly with you. But I guess give me some rundown on once you accepted the position, what that started looking like for you. Like give me some background. Like what? Yeah, I mean, just give me some more perspective on that.
I remember our first day back in office after the trip. You came in my office and you're like, here's the login to LMN. Click around, see what you like. And I was like, what is this software? So I spent the whole day just bumming around in LMN. And I love LMN, but I also hate LMN. I wish the time tracking was better. I wish I had job costing. There's a lot of things that it could be a great software if they just made some tweaks.
LMN was built because they couldn't find the right software for their company they want. Most software companies are built because there's not a solution out there for what they want.
Mm-hmm.
And I always feel that way. We use like 4 softwares for different things around here. And it's like, why can't,
Why can't there just be one?
And in the peer groups too, they complain about the same thing. They're using 4 softwares. We all want to have the same common goal, but it's like nobody can bring it all together for some reason, which is very odd.
I don't get it. I wish I was smart enough because I would build that damn thing.
Yeah, I think if we had enough money laying around to hire a software engineer to be like, this is what we want to do, let's build it, and then we could market it and sell the crap out of it, and we could probably come up with a great software. And that like most major inventions are, an easier way to do something, so they invent something to do it. And maybe that's what we should do.
Yeah.
It's our next big project.
Take it out of the podcast show. They're going to steal our idea.
Yeah, they're going to steal
I just wrote that one down.
Oh, yeah, nice.
Cut it.
I've thought about it for a while. I mean, I don't have the expertise or the know-how. I do know what I want, and I could poll a lot of the people that we know of what they want, and then you could probably find somebody to help develop something in that. But, yeah, so you love LMN, but you hate it.
Yeah. You let me play around LMN, and then you're like, here's QuickBooks. I was like, no, don't want that. Don't want anything about that. But it was a lot of learning. Spent a lot of time with Brian in the field. Spent a lot of time with you. And I'm still learning. I knew nothing about landscaping coming in. So to have to take over everything and learn everything was a lot.
What, as far as your being a female in the field, what did that look like? Like, what were this is a male-dominated, I'm not trying to be sexist or anything, but it's a male-dominated industry. And there are a lot of rising females right now, or a smaller group of females in the past that have risen, have done really well, but also there's a lot like coming up through the ranks right now in females. So I think you're going to see it more and more over the next few years, that it's probably going to be evenly split, so we're going from male dominated to probably end up being, you never know if you hear a landscape company, if it's ran by male or female, like it's just going to be a toss up. You don't know. But coming into now a male dominated industry, what did that feel like?
That was one of my biggest concerns because I didn't have any prior experience. I didn't want to be like, she's a female. She got this job because she's a female. She doesn't know anything. And you have to earn their respect out there. I mean, they're busting their ass, and I'm just waltzing out there like, hey, do this, this, and this.
Yeah.
So spending a lot of time out there working with Brian, earning their respect, like letting them know I'm on their team. I want to know their ideas because they're out there. They know best. I'm not going to go out there and be like, do it this way instead. I want to learn from you.
Yeah.
Working my way from the ground up. But there are a lot more females in the industry now, and Jeffrey definitely helps with that.
Yeah.
With all his tactics. So still working on it.
Yeah, I mean, that was my number one thing that I kind of brought up to him when we had that talk on his back porch was, she's a female. Like, is she even going to want this opportunity of being a female coming into a construction industry, a male dominated industry? Is that something like, am I even wasting my time? Is she going to get 6 months into it and be like, I hate this. I hate dealing with all you guys. Like, so I was worried about that. But yeah, I mean, I think, and kind of backing up, I offered you the job, but we didn't even know what the job was.
We still don't know what the
What
job
is
is.
your title, Amisha?
That's a great question, Garrett. What
What
is
is
it? What's my job description?
Well, if you ask me, I say general manager.
Okay.
Because I feel like that's better of like a second in command position. I don't know why. But on your business cards and what Jeffrey said initially was a chief of staff, which I think is a good title. It sounds much better than general manager, to be honest with you.
I'm just going to scratch it out and write everything. And every time I ask you what my job description is, you say everything.
Yeah. I think you're like a president without a president's title, because somehow I'm still the president, which I don't know how that works. Luckily, we don't have like shareholders to vote on certain things, or any sort of like structure that they can vote on.
You say we can't ride in the car together because it's like the vice president and president being together. If we both die,
if something happens, it would be bad. But no, all like jokes aside, your title, I guess, technically is chief of staff, which means still you run everything.
What does that mean?
You run everything. I mean, you run basically everything that there is behind this company now. So
yeah.
We started conditioning you. That was June of 2021 when we had the meeting. So July into the end of last year. So July to December, somewhere around there was kind of like the conditioning. And then really kind of, I wanted you to beginning of the year was kind of start and then not need me. Like, I know you're going to need me a few times here and there, but really like I'm going to pull all of my support away. If you need me, ask for questions, but I'm probably not going to be popping in your office and be like, what are you working on? What are you doing here? Like, just unless I'm just like happenstance, but I'm not intentionally going to do it. Like, I'm going to trust you to run everything as if I'm not here. And so I started focusing. Ashley left her job, so I needed to start focusing on my other companies because I did not want to bring her into Ashley's my wife. I did not want to bring her into this business that's already been established, and she'd have to learn a whole new skill set and everything else. And then there can be a lot of stresses here, and the last thing I want to do is take that home. So I had her involved in my real estate investing company, which she's done great with. So I knew I needed to help her establish those businesses by the beginning of this year. And so I needed Down to Earth running very well the beginning of last year, or the beginning of this year. So you've now had a year of running Down to Earth Landscapes as if it's your own baby. What does that look like? How does that feel?
It's been a stressful year.
Yeah, right.
No, it's been good. I've definitely learned a lot more than I thought I would learn at this point. I'm very excited going into next year, especially with joining Jeffrey's peer group for second in command. It's going to be nice to talk to people in my position and bounce ideas. But it's been good. Gotten very familiar with all of our guys. I feel like I've earned their respect. We get along fairly well. Like, my relationship with Brad is a lot better than your relationship with Brad.
Yeah, I'm going to be doing an interview probably with Brad. We may try to do it today just while we have everything set up to do this. And that's going to be interesting because I talked to him about it last night, and I said, there's no filter. You can talk whatever you want. You can ask me questions. I can ask you questions. Like, it's all on the table. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, your relationship with Brad is a completely different transformation than what my relationship with Brad was.
And I think part of that is being female. Like, men act different towards.
Well, Brad's told you that straight up. I mean, he's been honest about it. Like, hey, females.
So there are advantages to being female.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
But we also like see things differently. We're more detail oriented. So that helps.
Yeah. And a lot of the times, like, another good thing about it is I can have a lot of emotions attached to the company. I started the company when I was 16 years old.
Yeah.
And I'm 31, about to be 32. So I've been doing this a long time, and I have a lot of emotions and just past blood, sweat, and tears in this company. And so not necessarily things that you have. So you can actually take some of the emotion out of decisions and whatnot and use true rationale, which makes things a lot nicer for sure. I mean, I think it makes for a better environment sometimes.
Yeah. I try to leave every emotion out when I make a big decision here.
Yeah. So what does the day-to-day look like? What are you doing now?
Emails. So many emails. That's usually what I start my day with. receivables, making sure things are paid on time. Amber helps a lot with that. Visiting the job sites, making sure everything's out there, materials are ordered, and finances are a huge part of it as well, making sure we're running efficiently, getting everything done. So it's a lot of background work.
What about sales? Are you helping out with sales?
Brad has sales pretty much covered. I make sure they're on track with that.
Quotas and whatnot?
Mm-hmm. We use Jeffrey's sales planner.
Nice. So with sales, so Brad was our sales manager, but he was our only salesperson, which was fine because, I mean, the projects that we had going on and what his quotas were can support the company. I would do sales here and there, but I wasn't necessarily a salesman at that time. I mean, that's probably been my past the whole time. I was always in sales. I sold everything here before we had like a sales team or whatever. But this year, which was really cool, is we ended up growing our sales team to another salesperson as well as a sales assistant that can assist both of Brad and Josh. So we have Jason that helps out doing that.
So Brad is actually a sales manager now.
Yeah.
He went from sales manager to sales manager.
Yep. So we now have a sales manager that is a legit sales manager, not just a title. So sales is growing. So you have, I guess give me some like sales projections numbers and kind of where you see the company going in the future, like where we've been and kind of where you see things maybe the next year from now, 2 years from now, whatever.
Yeah, so we should be hitting right at 2 million this year. We're looking at 3.2 for next year. Ideally, in 5 years, we want to be around 6 or 7 million.
Gotcha. What kind of steps do you want to take to get there?
We are nailing down on marketing. We're using Sales Engine right now. We are just working on getting better leads. And then we want to grow our sales team to 1 or 2 additional reps. And instead of just waiting on leads to come in, they're going to be going out there, and we're really focusing on bid build. So we're getting right into commercial work, and these are huge projects that take a lot of time.
Nice. So with the sales numbers, just because I know a little bit of the background, the 2 million is probably going to be 2 million of produced work this year, correct?
Mm-hmm.
But we actually have more in the pipeline
for next year.
So we already have close to probably 1 million plus already sold for next year, correct?
Not necessarily 1 million, around 700,000, so close.
Gotcha.
But yeah, a lot of build work now.
But a few phone calls away, it can easily be over 1 million. And for bid build work, that's of course where there's these large commercial projects usually, and it's submitted to a bunch of different landscape contractors. They put in bids and then get awarded the bid. And we're used to design build a lot of the times on residential, where we design a project, give a price, and then hopefully we get accepted to do that job. So 2 different things there, 2 different animals, 2 different profit margins, and things like that. But it really does help our company grow. And then when you can kind of see, like where the projections of where the company's going and where the economy's going, you can say, oh, well, there's a ton of commercial work going on next year that can be pretty much recession proof because these contracts are signed. We can do that. Residential, if we're going into a recession, may not want to spend as much money. And so versus putting all your eggs in one basket, you can diversify your portfolio of the work that you actually do.
Yep.
And so it helps us out tremendously. But design build is a 2-week sales process, a week sales process, if that. Bid build can be a 6-month sales process.
It's a very long sales cycle.
Yep. And it also can be rewarded a year and a half out before the job is ready to be done. So you're having to kind of plan around that.
You're having to lock in material prices, all of that, make sure you're fully staffed when it comes around time.
Yeah.
All of that.
So you want to get down to earth to around 7 million. Is that locally? I mean, that you just kind of doing work here? Do you want to expand your horizons outside of?
No, we're going to expand. Like right now, we just did a Smoothie King in Atlanta, so that's out of our area. And a lot of the commercial jobs aren't necessarily going to be in Columbus, so we have to travel.
Yeah. Do you ever have any plans or any future plans for a different location at all? Or do you think we can make this the main hub and just kind of expand from here? Do you think there's any need to have real estate elsewhere?
I think we will eventually outgrow this building. It's a nice building, but the way it's set up with the offices, we're definitely going to outgrow this building.
Yeah, for sure. Office space. We have plenty of warehouse space, but our office space gets limited. And this is not a small building. I mean, we're upstairs right now. We have a complete upstairs, downstairs. I mean, we probably have, I don't know, 4 or 5,000 square feet of office space, and we're still, it's getting slim for us.
And I don't know if it's going to be a situation where we have a separate building for office space and then the warehouse is somewhere else.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah, that could be a potential. If you have something that you can scan in receipts that the guys have or anything like that, that can go to a central office, that could definitely work. What about as far as service offerings? Is there any change of services that you want to do? So I don't know how many people are listening to this know, but I used to do lawn maintenance, and then I got into landscaping and was kind of doing landscaping and lawn maintenance together. Lawn maintenance being grass cutting, landscaping being like the installation and the construction side of things. And I sold that in 2019, I think. I think it was 2019. July of 2019. I have a 5-year non-compete that I cannot get back into lawn maintenance. So I sold that division off. We just did landscape. But I think you guys may have kind of a different idea that it wasn't the way I wanted it to be. Landscaping was kind of always my passion. Lawn maintenance was just kind of there, and I wasn't very passionate about it. But I think having the structure that we have now, it's really easy to probably bring that back in a different way. So I don't know. I guess give me some of your ideas on that. We
absolutely want to bring it back because it's a great revenue stream. If we're doing a $40,000 landscape job, people expect you to maintain it for them.
Yeah.
So we definitely want to get back in that. We also want to do pool maintenance as well. If we're installing a pool, why shouldn't we also maintain it for them?
Yeah.
So it's 2 revenue sources that we don't have right now that would really help. So when that non-compete finally ends, we're coming back.
Yeah, and I think that, not just serving the pools and the pools or the landscapes that we've done, not just doing the lawn maintenance or the pool service on those, but we'll be able to market and expand to everybody. But I'm sure not like I used to run lawn maintenance where we just accepted anybody and everybody because we needed the revenue. We're going to be very selective on the projects that we choose or the customers that we choose to do lawn maintenance for.
Yeah, there'll definitely be some strict criteria on that.
Yeah. I have an envision of doing like a bespoke lawn maintenance where we only choose the nicest of properties, whether that's residential, commercial, whatever that is, but doing it in a way that is completely different than what I've ever really seen, but given a very tailored approach, very high cost probably, but you're looking for that quality. Yeah. And there's going to be, it probably won't be everybody. It's not going to be for everybody at all. Like it's going to be for a very select few. But, again, like I said earlier, Lamborghinis aren't for everybody.
Yeah. If you're looking for us to just cut your grass, we're not the company.
Yeah. Same thing with the pool maintenance. I mean, I think we should go after more of a higher end clientele with that. I mean, there may be some base packages that we can offer because we do need to get
started.
Yeah, we got to get it started. We got to get our feet wet.
Literally.
Yeah. So yeah, we do have to kind of figure that one out because I've never been in that space, but I think that this area can definitely use something like that. And it helps with our revenue. I mean, if we got $2 million in just lawn maintenance alone, which I think could be easy to pick up, $2 million in revenue for lawn. Oh, excuse me. I think it could be easy to pick up $2 million in lawn maintenance services around here alone. That puts you, I mean, if you were to start that next year, it'd take a little while to build, but you'd be a $4 million company almost in a year to two. Then you add in pool service. I don't know what that looks like revenue wise, but even to say it adds in an extra $1 million, you're sitting around a $5 million company in the next 2 years. And then just growth from there and everything to get you to your $7 million that you're wanting. And I think that would be really good. And then I think, of course, there's other opportunities that open up themselves. You never know. We might do the software thing. Who knows?
Yeah.
But there's opportunities for us to potentially figure out ways to offer more services, offer more products. Who knows? River started, they were buying pools from other people. Now they manufacture their own pools. There's other ways for us to grow from there. If we feel like we want to manufacture our own pools or do whatever we want to do. Nothing is off the table in the future is all I'm getting at. We're not going to be limited by anything.
There's a bunch of different things we can do that can bring in revenue. We just have to make sure it's profitable. Otherwise, at the end of the day, we're just wasting our time.
Yeah. I mean, the beauty of it is just staying ambitious and wanting to grow and always wanting to grow. I think everybody here has that mentality and that mindset. They want to do better. Because it's not all, I'm talking about revenue goals here and stuff, but it's not all about money for us. I mean, there's 2 ways to make more money, or there's 2 ways to hold on to more money, and that's be more cost effective to where you can hold on to more of the money that you're making, or you grow in revenue, or you do both, the conjunction of both of those. But when we do those things, we want to give it to our people. It's not to be stingy and keep it ourselves. We want to grow, and we want them to be able to grow with us. So when we sell these things, it's not just for our own pockets. It's because everybody else wants to make more for themselves as well. And that's why I think the ambition side of how ambitious we are as a company and whatnot is it allows everybody to have potential growth forever. You get to a $7 million company, I'm going to be standing there going, what's next? We're not just going to.
You don't want to stop.
Yeah.
You want to keep going.
Yeah. What's next?
And we get bored easily. We always want something new and exciting to work on. And we're all young and hungry here.
Yeah.
Besides Brian. And
He's hungry.
just not young. So we're always looking for the next opportunity. We want to grow and we want to have fun. And Brad's always like, I'm getting bored of selling the same projects. I'm like, okay, well, sell something better then.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm excited to see the growth of the company. I'm excited to see you grow with the company. And I mean, I guess, what does your personal future look like? Not necessarily with Down to Earth, but like, where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years? Like, give me a little short form of that.
Where do I see myself in 5-10 years?
I can tell you where you said in Jeffries, what you said is you wanted to be traveling and doing a bunch of other stuff.
I do like traveling.
Yeah.
Which I do while I'm here. So that's good.
Yeah.
PTO is nice. I see myself here. I see the company growing. I want to be here as long as I can to help it grow. I don't think of it as a business. Like, it's yours and Ashley's baby. And it's one of your main sources of income. So I want to make sure you guys are okay. I'm doing the best thing I can to help you guys.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I'll be here.
You're going to be here in 5 years?
I'm going to be here in 5 years.
10 years?
Sure.
You're going to buy me out?
Are you going to give me a job description? Am I going to buy you out? I'll need a higher salary to afford to buy you out. Unless you give it to me for
you would
free.
Make your own salary.
So if you're just giving it to me, sure.
Yeah, I don't know what the future holds for me here. I mean, I know there's been a lot of talks of like different people selling out to like VC, or not VCs, but private equity. Mm-hmm. And, I've seen different articles. It's like, if you can get your company running so smoothly, it just becomes a cash generating machine for you. Why would you want to sell out when you can literally go do something else, have a company that has great credit, all the history behind it, and it's generating cash, and you don't have to be a part of it. You can go start this over here and do the same thing with something else. Like, why would you get rid of that? Because eventually that money is going to, like, the money that you earn if you were to sell out, well, you're going to sell out for pennies on the dollar, and eventually that money is going to not be coming in anymore. So you look at the long-term vision of, selling out, and I don't know if it's for everybody. It's definitely not for me. We just had one of the local landscape companies in this area get sold out by private equity or an acquisition. It was a larger landscape company, and they were acquired by them. And maybe that was the right option, guys ready to retire and whatnot. But, again, I'm young, you're young. We got a lot of ambition and a lot of drive. And one thing that I'm very excited about that we always do is we always change the game. We're the only landscape company in Columbus, Georgia that offers the services that we offer, which is full turnkey pool installation. We're the only landscape company offering pools, period. And so everything that I've ever done has always been like the tech side. I love new technology, and has always been outside the box. Don't ever paint us in any sort of box that you think that we're going to fit in as a landscaping company, because I can promise you I will push the lines of that box until it forms a different shape. And we've just always been that way. And everybody that I've hired around me, including you and Brad and everybody else, always kind of has that same mentality as well. And so it makes me excited to see the growth of you and everybody else here, of where we're going to be at in the next few years and what the future holds. So, I mean, I'm excited about your future here. I think you're going to have fun, and this is a new thing that we're doing with a podcast style, but may can be something that we have you on in a few more months and just kind of give us a check in and kind of go from there. But I mean, what do you think? Check back in a few months, 6 months to a year, see where you're at. If you're still here. We'll just check back. It'll be an empty chair.
I know
there.
I said I'd be here, but I won't be here.
You're going to be in Cabo or something. That is the beauty of what you've done, too, like in the past.
Yeah.
And I've told you before, like with your position, I don't care about PTO. I don't care about anything else. It's kind of like the sales position, and I'll talk with Brad about that later. But, as long as you're doing what you're supposed to do and the company is running, there's positions available to you that you don't necessarily have to always be in the seat in your office.
I know. I was in Mexico like 2 months ago, and I was sitting on my little lawn chair on my laptop working.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a remote job, but I do like to be here to see how things are going.
Yeah.
So in and out. But the flexibility is nice. That's
Yeah.
definitely a perk that you don't get in
Well,
corporate America.
Again, it's that thankless position. So that is
It is a very thankless position that I've
is-
learned the hard way.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like it's our baby, and you're good cop and I'm bad cop. So everyone, you're nice, and I have to go back and be like, you can't do that.
Yeah.
So people tend to be like, to me,
Yeah.
and they're all happy with you.
Yeah, they come to me and they're like, Amisha's getting on to me. I'm like, oh, she's your boss. Do your
She
own
gets
thing.
on to me too.
Yeah, she gets on to me too. You think you got it bad? Look at this. I'm showing them text messages of you. No, just joking. But no, I do. It is funny because I have to tell people a lot of times. Like Brad will call me and he'll be like, he'll say something. And I'm like, I don't know, man. I can't do that anymore. Misha's like watching how much money I spend and stuff. I can't do that. Like
This man and the company Amex,
yeah. Sorry, what were you saying? This man.
you. So it is a thankless position. I have to be the bad guy a lot of the times. But it is what it is. It's part of the job, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I am glad to have you as part of the team, and I'm excited for your personal growth. I'm excited to see the company grow. I have completely pretty much exited the day-to-day. You've allowed me to do that, and I'm super appreciative of that. Joe's going to spill his drink over there.
He's crying. He's getting emotional.
Yeah. So, I am super appreciative of that, whether I tell you enough or not. I really am super thankful for you and everything you do for the company. And again, I'm excited to see where you're going to take it and where you're personally going to grow and everything else. So I look forward to checking back in with you, of course, and I still look forward to working with you and seeing you every day.
Yeah, don't leave me.
Yeah.
I have so many questions.
Yeah. Well, I do have a lot of projects with the YouTube channel and things like that I'm going to work on. So you may see less of me around the office some still, but, I'm still always going to be here until you either buy me out or you kill me off or something. And somehow you've been rode into the ownership of the company if I die or something. I don't know, whatever you do when you sign my signature on stuff that I see over there. And what's your social security number
I
again,
never
Garrett?
sign your signature.
Asking for me and my wife's social security number all the time. It's
I
very
know.
odd. Like,
I text him stuff like
write this
that.
down, Joe.
But he never questions me. I'll be like, I need this. Oh, my social? Okay.
Yeah.
You never once be like,
Yeah, I
you
trust
just
you.
give it to me.
I trust you. But yeah, good luck on your journey, and thank you for thank you for joining me today.
Thanks.
And hopefully,
Thanks for having me.
yeah, hopefully we can do more stuff like this. And like I said, check in with you in the future. So
I'll send you my hourly rate.
it will not be paid. That's part of the.
It will be
thankless
paid.
part.
I run payroll.
Oh dang, that's part of the thankless part, is what I'm gonna say. But I guess it works. All right, thank you again.
Thanks.
Catch you next time.
Okay. See you later, alligator.